Hello, Deepa here. And today I want to share with you a little bit about Yogananda, the Yogananda sacred portal that I've created, and also give you an intuitive message from Yogananda, from my portals, my spirit guide portals, because I want to share a little bit about the story because it's an amazing story to me. And it's what started my whole journey of creating spirit guide portals for other people that I call personal divine presence portals, which are, you have spirit guides that are all around you all the time, and different ones sometimes show up specifically to help you manifest a purpose or to overcome a challenge. And then you have other spirit guides that are with you 24/7. But, you know, I didn't even know I could do this back then when I first started taking oil painting lessons. I started to take oil painting lessons a while ago because my wife had said, "Oh, you're creative. You like making things. Why don't you take an oil painting lesson?" And I thought, okay, why not? So I went and took one. And in the process of taking the lessons, my teacher used to yell across the room saying to me, relax, Deepa, relax. You got to relax when you paint. And so I started to incorporate all of my spiritual practices not all, but a lot of them into uh, bef- to my day before I started to paint, because my teacher used to always talk about relaxing. And so being a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher, a spiritual success coach, I started to go, okay, well, what can I do? Let me do some prayers, and let me do some pranayama and do a few yoga postures. And, I really wanted to relax. So I started doing that. And then it came to a point where it's time for me to paint my first person. And I decided I wanted to paint Yogananda because I'm a follower of Yogananda. I love his teachings, and he's what got me interested into yoga and meditation. I'd been on the Buddhist path for a long time, and I was meditating before I got introduced to Yogananda. But he brought me even further with the yoga and going deeper about the yogic philosophy. But I had this, like, little idea drop in my head. You ever have that happen where this little thing comes in, and it's an idea that comes that you think is like really cool and crazy all wrapped into one, because I had this idea that I wanted to paint Yogananda, and I wanted the painting to have his power and vibration, that I wanted people, when they saw his image, that they felt blessed by him. Now, I know if you're listening to this, just the audio, you can't see Yogananda, but if by chance you want to go over to my YouTube channel, feel free to. That's where you can see the painting of Yogananda. He's actually here, right here with me, right next to me, and he's going to give the intuitive message here in a little bit. But um, but I had this idea that popped in my head, a little download that I thought was crazy, but wanted to do it. Kept it a secret to myself that I wanted to create this, this painting where it was like a doorway to the divine presence of Yogananda. And so I finished up painting him, and one of my co-students who I knew came by and sticks her thumb in the air saying, thumbs up, like, "Hey, Yogananda's in the house," putting a little thumbs up as she's walking by. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess I did a pretty good job." But that's not the amazing part of the story. I hung up Yogananda to dry, and I came back a week later, and some woman, while I was checking him to see if he was dry, comes up to me and says, "Are you the one who painted Yogananda?" I said, "Oh, yes, I am." And she says to me, "Well, I just have to tell you, every time I look at this painting, I feel blessed, and I can feel his power and energy. I feel blessed by him when I see the painting." And, on the outside, I'm going, "Oh, well, thank you," but on the inside, I'm like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, it worked," and so that was the beginning of me going, "Oh, okay, I want to create more paintings where people are being blessed." So Yogananda was my first, and the first where I got evidence that, okay, that having this intention of creating these portals is is possible, where people feel blessed by them. And so he's become a really live portal to me. His energy is there all the time, where he blesses me with my own guidance sometimes. But today I wanted to invite him in. Well, I should say I didn't choose him. What I always do is I check in with my portals. I knew today I wanted to give an intuitive message to all of my listeners from one of my sacred portals, but I didn't know which one. And so I checked in with them and asked who wanted to volunteer today, and Yogananda is the one who volunteered. And I thought, oh, well, that's kind of appropriate because this is my first intuitive message that I'm giving on my podcast, on the Creative Mystic podcast. and he's the first one I ever created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little prayer here, and you can just follow along. If you're driving, obviously don't close your eyes, but if you want to do your own prayer, you can. And I'm going to check in with Yogananda and find out what message, what guidance he wants to give today. I'm not sure what it's going to be on. I never do when they volunteer, but I want to check in with them. Okay. So I'm going to start. If you're not driving and you're sitting there on your someplace where you can just close your eyes, feel free to close your eyes and focus on your breath, taking that deep belly breath where when you take that inhalation, it rises with the inhalation and falls with the exhalation. And inhale again, just drawing in the energy of focus. And exhale, letting go of any distractions, any busyness of the day. And inhale one more time, allowing the divine presence to come forth into your being. And exhale, allowing that divine presence to expand within every fiber of your being. And I'm going to start with a prayer, and you can follow along or do your own silently. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, Great Spirit of the universe, and Yogananda, who so graciously volunteered to be here and give this message today. We ask that our hearts and minds be open and willing to receive the guidance, to receive the blessings, and to receive the transformation that Yogananda is going to put forth onto each and every listener who hears this message. Peace. Amen. So Yogananda says he volunteered because he really wanted to start to bring forth the energy in the Creative Mystic podcast with the importance of owning your power, because owning your power is part of your greatness. And what he wants to say is about not power over somebody, because power over somebody is not actually owning your power. People, whenever they want to control another person or have power over another person, he's saying that's actually when you're actually in your weakest state, because you're feeling fearful that you need to, so fearful that you feel like you need to control another human being or another situation or another person. And so he's saying owning your power is really about stepping into your authentic self and what's true in your heart. And he's saying that when you own your power, you will be at peace. You will be able to be in the energy of love. You will be joyful. And now he's saying now that he knows it's easy to say to own your power and more difficult to do. But what he's wanting you to do right now, because he's saying this is a first step. He's saying that he's going to volunteer again later in in later episodes. But he's saying right now, it's about owning your power of what's true in your emotions. Now, what he means by that is he's saying it's about admitting and acknowledging what you really feel. So he's not saying to let your emotions rule, your actions or rule what you do or say. But he's saying that really what weakens your energy and your ability to step into your greatness and to know your purpose is when we do little white lies to ourselves and pretend like we're feeling okay with something when we're not, when we don't acknowledge what we really need. And he's saying that when we really step into our power, we're acknowledging what we really need. We're acknowledging, our emotions, because that's the first step of the power. We have to actually know what we're feeling, what we're thinking, where we are in our spiritual, emotional, mental development for us to know what the next step is. And when you actually own that and acknowledge it, he's saying that that's going to be your first step in owning your power. So he's saying that power is really important, and that power's gotten kind of a bad rap because there are people out there who use power to control another person or that. And he really wants you to really reflect on what is your belief around your power and about if you stand in your power. And he's saying to me right now, he really wants me to make a point, if you're actually a woman, and he's saying this could be a man too, but he's saying this is really prevalent with women, is that women, he's saying, have not been raised to be powerful. We've been raised to like basically, like kind of he's saying kind of like be like second class citizens in that, we always make other people's needs more important than our own. And he's saying that part of your power is knowing that line of when you can actually make another person's needs more important than yours and do it joyfully and not be, like draining yourself. He says that's the power. The power is knowing like where is your limit of what you can do joyfully and when you can't. And he's saying standing in your power is like knowing where that line is. Like, okay, okay, I can do this and I'm going to feel good about it. But like, if you do it and you don't feel good about it, or you feel frustrated, or you feel more worried, or you feel like totally stressed, he's saying that's not in your power. He's saying the idea with power is to actually know that one, you are a powerful being because you really are, but two, you matter. And he's saying that's standing in your power, knowing that you matter, you make a difference. And he's saying that if you're listening to this, you matter, you make a difference. Everybody on the planet, he says, is here to make a difference in some way, and to not diminish or minimize the importance of you stepping into your power so that you can actually start to let your greatness out, and that you can also start to know what your purpose is. He's saying that, finding your purpose, he's saying that, is really about first and foremost finding your power. And that power begins with admitting and acknowledging where you are emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And so he's saying that he wants to give a little practice today where you actually take the time, if you can, each day to tune into yourself and say, what am I actually feeling? What's the truth of how I'm feeling emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And if you're like feeling disconnected spiritually, maybe you do something to get back connected. If you're feeling emotionally drained, that you do something to take care of yourself. If mentally, maybe you're feeling bored because like you've been doing the same old repetitive thing and nothing new to learn. He's saying that then you make a choice to do something new. He says by checking in and then taking an action to actually fulfill that need you have, he says that's the beginning of you stepping into your power. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that message was helpful. I'd love to hear any feedback that you have. And remember, greatness is within you. It's time to let it out. Have a miraculous day. Blessings. Oh, and by the way, if you want to go see Yogananda, feel free to go check out my YouTube channel.